She was 7 years old when her grandfather started abusing her. 13 when she got pregnant, result of rape. 15 when she was thrown on the street in the middle of winter. For years, he survived as best he could. On the roads of Florida, in strangers' cars, homeless, no family, without anyone. In 1989, he started killing 7 men in less than a year. When she was captured, the world called her a monster, the first female serial killer in American history. But forensic psychiatry asked a different question. What turns an abandoned child into a murderer? And how far does someone's responsibility go? That you never had a chance? Welcome to Psyche Obscure. Today we will enter the case of Aileen Wuornos, the case that forced forensic psychiatry to rethink everything I knew about trauma, violence, and guilt. Childhood. To understand Aileen Wuornos, we need to start where it all started, and the beginning is hard to hear. Aileen was born in 1956 in Michigan. The father, convicted of sexual crimes against children. I never got to know her. Her mother abandoned her when she was 4 years old. She and her brother were raised by their maternal grandparents. The grandfather drank, physically abused. According to Aileen, also sexually. At the age of 11, she exchanged sexual favors for cigarettes and food with colleagues from the neighborhood. At 13, she got pregnant, the result of rape by a friend of her grandfather. The baby was given for adoption. At the age of 15, her grandfather kicked her out of the house. In the middle of Michigan's winter, she started living in the forest, in abandoned cars, surviving from prostitution on the roads. Forensic psychiatry has a concept for this: complex developmental trauma, when abuse is not an isolated event, but the entire environment in which a child grows up. The brain develops radically differently. The response to danger becomes permanent. Trust, impossible. Violence is normal. The years on the roads. For more than a decade, Aileen lived on the banks. Prisons for vagrancy, order disturbance, theft. A lightning wedding with a much older man that ended in restrictive order. Alcohol, drugs, constant violence. In 1986, he met Terria Moore in a gay bar in Daytona Beach. It was the only stable relationship of his life. The two lived together for years. Aileen supporting Terria with the prostitution money on the roads. The psychologists who analyzed this period describe Aileen as someone in a state of chronic hypervigilance, a nervous system permanently in survival mode, unable to distinguish real threat from perceived threat. She kept waiting to be attacked, because all my life it had always been. The crimes. Between 1989 and 1990, 7 men were found dead along Florida's highways. Everyone had been shot. Everyone had a history of contact with prostitutes. When Aileen was captured in January 1991, he confessed to all the crimes. But the version she gave was different from what the media wanted to hear. She said she'd been attacked, that the men tried to rape her, assault her, kill her. Who shot in self-defense? The prosecutor's office argued that she lied, that she was a cold, calculating predator who killed for money. The truth, as almost always, was more complex. Psychiatric expertise revealed a disturbing picture: severe borderline personality disorder, significant antisocial traits, history of dissociation and episodes of depersonalization, a mind that had learned since the age of 7 that the world was a place where you attacked before being attacked. The judgment and the debate. Aileen Wuornos' trial became one of the most debated in the history of forensic psychiatry. On the one hand, the prosecutor's office, a serial killer who planned the crimes, chose the victims, stole their belongings. responsible, guilty, deserving of the maximum penalty. On the other side, defense psychiatrists, a woman with such a deep developmental trauma that his perception of threat was permanently distorted, who had never received treatment, that the system had failed her at every stage of life. The debate that emerged from this trial was fundamental. How far does individual responsibility go? When did the environment destroy the ability to choose? It's not a comfortable question. There is no simple answer, but it is one of the most important that forensic psychiatry faces. The execution and the legacy. Aileen Wuornos was sentenced to death. Executed in October 2002 in Florida. He was 46 years old. His last words were disturbing. She stated that she had been abused within the prison system itself, that was being executed by a society who had failed her all her life. Many dismissed it as delirium. Others heard something different, an accusation. The legacy of the Wuornos case in forensic psychiatry is profound. He forced courts, psychiatrists, and legislators to face issues that they preferred to ignore. How we evaluate guilt in people whose development has been systematically destroyed. How does the justice system treat victims who have become perpetrators? And what do we do with the anger of a society? Who wants a simple monster? When is reality much more complicated? What psychology learned? The Wuornos case accelerated real changes in forensic psychiatry. The evaluation of developmental trauma came to be considered essential in complex criminal cases, not as an excuse, but as context. The concept of psychological mitigating circumstances gained more weight in legal systems, and the debate about rehabilitation versus punishment, it was impossible to ignore. If the system fails with a child so completely, who is responsible for the adult she becomes? Forensic psychiatrist Dorothy Otnow-Lewis, who studied Aileen Wuornos before the execution, came to a conclusion that divides opinions to this day. Aileen showed signs of neurological and psychiatric damage that have never been properly evaluated or treated. We executed a sick woman, not a monster. This sentence continues to be debated. Aileen Wuornos' case has no comforting ending. There is no clean justice. There is no simple villain. There is no hero. There is a child that the world methodically destroyed and then executed when the result was too inconvenient. And there are questions that have remained unanswered. What would have happened if someone had intervened at the age of 7? At 13? At 15? These questions do not absolve Aileen Wuornos, but they force us to look at the system that produced it and for what we chose to do with the children he continues to produce. Next week, we continue this series with the Andrea Yates case, the mother who killed her own children and forever changed the debate about insanity in the courts. If this video made you think, leave the like and activate the bell. The Obscure Psyche exists to go where it is difficult to look. See you next time.